Hey guys, it's Josh Patterson back here with you in the AI Coffee Hour. I'm here with my friend Melanie Warrick with a super cool background, animated there, and from Temporal. And she is going to share with us some things Temporal's been doing in the world of agents and AI here recently. Hey Melanie, how's it going?
Hi Josh, it's good to see you. It's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure. So kick it off. What is Temporal? I was just at Replay a
What is
couple of weeks
Temporal?
ago, and 1,000-person conference, highly attended, but it felt like the West Coast was really into Temporal. OpenAI gave them, a huge shout out on stage, but it didn't seem like the East Coast buyer crowd had found Temporal yet. So this is your
We,
chance. Tell the world, what is Temporal?
I'm
What are you
gonna
guys
say
doing?
we definitely have many buyers, and they are worldwide at this
Yes.
point.
Sorry.
Actually, we have lots of customers everywhere. But Temporal got a Series D as of February.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Temporal durable execution. It's funny when we say that. Like, I know sometimes that doesn't fully resonate for people who are not in distributed systems, but like it's tracking and helping manage your state and helping you understand the state of your system that you're running. And it can be any system. It's really great with, if you've got a financial system or retail, but like we're using OpenAI, like you said, so we're across the board and we're
Yeah.
tracking state of your system
Yeah.
and state of your workflows.
I thought
So
I thought when OpenAI came on stage and was like, we use more Temporal than anyone else. I was like, from a user story standpoint, I think like they're just doing the AE's jobs for them right there, and no, that was pretty great.
I definitely appreciated the fact that they were, calling out like the level of which they do use us, and many companies
Mm-hmm.
have actually been, if anything, I think the thing that I've appreciated the most since joining the company is when people do use us and they come up to us at conferences, they typically tell us they love us. So
Yeah.
that's been really a nice thing to hear. But I know it's tricky software to fully understand,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you haven't built with it just yet. I know we were talking about this. I can show an example. I've actually been working on it for the AIE World's Fair.
Nice.
That's happening in San Francisco, and it's going to be where all these people are coming together to talk about basically AI engineering. You want me to bring up the demo?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So what I'm sharing is this thing that I called Ziggy's Ice Cream Shop, and ultimately I've built out a fake ice cream shop with our mascot Ziggy, and it is doing ice cream delivery throughout San Francisco. And I should have already kicked this off before I opened up this demo, but that's okay. The main things I'm going to point out in this specific use case that I've built is that I've got multiple agents that are coordinating the delivery, and they are working throughout a couple different frameworks. We have an integration with ADK, for example, and we also have an integration with LangGraph. And so in this situation, we have a fleet agent that reasons about the drivers. We have a customer agent that's reasoning about the orders. And we have a dispatch agent that takes in recommendations from both to make the call on which order to pair with which driver. You'll see that the fleet and the customer agents are being managed by ADK, while the dispatch agent is being managed by LangGraph. So Temporal is in essence woven into to all of this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's tracking the state of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's creating some standardized primitives for things like human in the loop when you're trying to put a human interjecting either a change to an order, or if the agent says, hey, I need some input from a human.
Mm-hmm.
So those are primitives that we've got pre-built that you don't have to think about. And I'll show you what that can look like. In this case, we've got these orders. I'm going to drop a high value order into the system. And now when it comes up, and this is Temporal's UI that you can see over here on the right.
Mm-hmm. And on the left is
Temporal,
the UI that you came up with, because it's a pretty fancy demo. Right.
yeah, I
The
love this
animated
demo.
ice cream trucks are my favorite part of the demo so far. Just
I,
FYI.
no, they're my favorite part as well as the Ziggy sign. I actually put this together originally for Vegas when we showed the ADK integration at Next. And so that was originally it was inspired by Vegas with some like more Vegas-y types of signs. But anyway, what I'm showing here on the right is the Temporal UI to be able to track the actual state of all of this system. What I just showed you with that framework. And you can see here, you got your dispatch agent, your fleet agent, your customer agents. It's all being run in this main workflow. So if anything happened to the system, it would know where it left off. It would know where it paused.
So like we're talking core switch failure in the data center, or losing power to a bunch of machines. It just everything drops, and you can bring it back up.
It's like a bookmark for the state, and it says, okay, when you bring it all back up, I know where you left off, and I'll if this was to shut down, or if I tried to reset that screen asking for the human's input, it knows it still needs the human input for this specific workflow. And so what I'm also going to highlight for you here is I showed you the parent workflow that's giving you a sense of the overarching, like all the events that are happening. There's also child workflows that are specifically isolating each order and the set of agents in that framework. So that special order that I've got paused, or that is requesting the human's input, which is, let me go find it. Now I'm like scrolling. So I can design that a little bit better too.
Yeah.
But,
we're seeing a live in progress demo, so that's part of it.
Yeah. This is our special order. It's in a pause state. It already had the customer and the fleet make a recommendation to the dispatch agent. And the dispatch agent is the workflow that's currently waiting for the human's input. But you'll notice that everything is continuing to keep running. So like that is a key component of showing you how this temporal has been built out so that temporal is interwoven into the system so that the system can keep going and it doesn't break if you need something like a human to come in and respond. And it can sit in this waiting state for like minutes to days. And I'll show you in this slide. Like it's reasoning. We use sort of these simple primitives, a wait condition that you apply in your code. It'll pause, but because of the way our software is built, we're storing and we're keeping track of your workflow and that current state of that one workflow, and while the rest of the workflows can keep working. So it's a wait condition and it's a signal.
So I'm gonna ask a question from like the crowd in my brain. So it sounds like temporal is serializing durable state down to disk somewhere, so that if everything falls apart, it goes, oh, what was I doing last? It looks at disk, it loads it back up, so that if memory goes away, disk is still there, and that's the bookmark, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's its own separate service and own separate storage that will be able to be managed and reloaded up onto what you're working on.
The challenge with distributed systems is, I guess Melanie will be right back.
And
I just told the podcast you would be right back, and there you are. I'm one for one. So yeah. Yeah,
it's not a temporal system.
Yeah. Whoops, wrong button. Distributed systems. I think that very few people ever realize the difficulty in building distributed systems. In the days of when we did Hadoop, like there were so many things that HDFS did for us that the world just never even realized. Like HDFS checksumming, how complex that was across lots of machines. And it's just like, oh, I just ran my Hive job and it just happened. Well, a lot had to happen with machines failing for that job to complete deterministically, right? And I think that is, to me, that's always amazing stuff, because I have over 20 years, over the course of my career, 25 years, being cut on those hard edges a lot of times in distributed systems. So then I see something like temporal, I go, there's a lot that went into the engineering of that. There's a lot of small problems that will hurt you. They're just being, plumbed over so that, you can focus on application logic and less on, if this machine falls over, what happens? You know?
Yeah, we've really thought a lot about it. We've made sure it's pretty standard to be able to think about retries, timeouts, outages, different things like that that you would normally see as just these kind of common cases in distributed systems that you want to make sure are abstracted away and addressed as easily as possible, so that system just is as stable as possible.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that your median temporal workflow, is it on the line of business side, or is it on the back end server side?
That's a great question. In terms of like where that is, actually, to be honest, I think I'm still fairly new enough to say that it's hard for me to make that call. I definitely think it fits in both, but in terms of like how much business we have on both sides is I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
Even though I think Temporal is probably 5 years old, 6 years old, I still think it's very early days for them as a company in terms of where they can go with this. And it feels to me right now, the use cases that I saw at Replay seem to be back-end data center type use cases that were operating like the back end of the ice cream delivery system, right? The logistics of that, as opposed to like, and this is not a knock. I'm just like, we're feeling out where these use cases
You're trying
are
to figure
currently.
out where it fits.
Yeah. As opposed to supporting a workflow for like the COO's financial analysis. Not that it couldn't do it, but I'm just saying it just seems like the bulk of the use cases they were showing at Replay were those back end process 1,000 transactions durably.
It's great for, it is great for the larger scaling and back-end systems for sure. It's very much got a variety of different use cases and applications when you're working with any kind of system at the end of the day. So yeah, like in terms of scale, it's going to be a higher impact item. But I think the big thing, and the thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is just, and this frankly is to a degree your backend as well, but it's where we're putting agents into production and how Temporal can play a role in that. And so like that demo I just showed you, for example, that's showing you how we're creating some stability around even just putting multiple frameworks into these systems. And it's something that I know we've heard from others that are doing this just because they're trying out frameworks, but it also makes it clear that like you can swap them in and out and you can still have this durable state that's maintained no matter what.
Yeah. There's another person at Temporal, Johan, that I talked to a lot, and he was always, early on, he was on how it was really good for durability of state in a lot of different ways. They created Temporal at an abstraction level that made it widely applicable. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. It is very much meant to be widely applicable. And it makes it interesting too, because when you want to try to give a very concrete, here's exactly where you fit this, it's kind of like when you say the internet or AI, I don't want to be that abstract, but like it does have a wide range of uses. So if you've got workflows and you're trying to keep track of what those workflows look like, workflows also feels like such a funny, it can cover a number of different things, but basically when you're working with the system and it's got a variety of processes and steps in it, and I think the big thing for you is like, how important is it to be able to make sure that those steps don't break or fall over, or if you're making an API call, especially if you're making a call and you're concerned about token usage, like how do you make sure that you don't max out your token budget by making sure that you have a better handle on how often you just retried that API, or what's your limit of retries are you willing to take for that call to that specific model? Yeah.
Having some relative determinism in what your token budget's going to be tends to work better with workflows that have a preset number of steps. I think where you get into these explosive situations with tokens is where you have what I call the loop and tool architecture of agents, where they can spin in a loop, and if they get stuck or they go off on some wild tangent for whatever reason, 1 out of 10 times, that's where you have these like explosive growth in token usage. And what type of architecture agents do you typically see on Temporal today?
The type of architecture agents?
Yeah, are they preset number of steps, or are they loop and tool, where they kind of spin through the loop?
We're able to do both.
You're able to do both, but which do you see more of?
Oh, that's also a question I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well,
that's a great question. Yeah. But I mean, I was going to say, I know we're able to do both. I know we do both in terms of how much do we see one versus the other. I unfortunately don't know that one right off the bat. But
well, that's why you got invited to the show,
actually,
because
no, wait, I do know this. And you know why? Is because people haven't put that many loops necessarily in production just yet. So I would know that it's going to be more like, it's not a loop yet, but I have no doubt, because people are pushing for autonomy more and more, that we'll start to see more and more loops being implemented.
Well, the reason you're one of the people invited on the show is because you will say when you don't know. And it drives me nuts when some people don't know, and they go, oh, well, they'll just make up an answer. I think it's very healthy to have these discussions where it's like, oh, I don't know that. Well, that's okay. That's why we have cognitive dissonance reduction. I don't know. I debate people in the autonomy thing a lot privately, at dinners and stuff. I think workflows are oversubscribed, like you said. I think agents, the term, is oversubscribed. And I think autonomy is oversubscribed. I think you can have autonomy like down in the Linux operating system. There's loops, there's daemons that are sitting there running, doing things. And are they autonomous? Sort of. But, how are these new workflows with loops, how is their loop a different type of autonomy? And we may not know that. I think that collectively the AI literati or what have you is trying to figure that out. But I don't know, what is your take on that?
In terms of what it makes it actually autonomous?
Yes.
I do see that the definition of autonomous, in at least what I've been researching and what I've been seeing so far, it's reasoning, it's acting, and then it's observing, and it's taking, and it's reasoning again. And so you're, if anything, usually feeding the prompt with additional data that you just got out of that act and observe step back in to do more reasoning and just to continue. It's ultimately like a while or a for loop in your code that continues. Mm-hmm. And then you're putting a lot of frameworks and other scaffolding around that to be able to put that into production at the end of the day. Yeah. But I think the bigger thing right now is that people are putting all this harnesses or frameworks or whatever you want to call it around these agents to try to rein them in and reduce the level of uncertainty that's in them. And it sometimes takes away the whole point of what the agent is trying to do and the fact that it is probabilistic in nature.
I think that spot we could talk for hours about, and we have. And we at the AI breakfast we just my shop ran in at Databricks Summit last week. We talked a lot about this. The tipping point between the more software you add, the more edge case, guardrails you add. Eventually, a long enough timeline, it just becomes software again. And I think for some use cases, it needs to be precompiled, static set of steps software. And I think that that's okay. The reason I have challenges with the autonomy piece, and it's not directed at you, it's directed at like more of the LinkedIn, AI expert crowd, I guess if you will, is autonomy implies agency, which implies moral standing and personhood. And I don't think agents come close to that piece. So I think that there is a connective tissue between those topics where people will throw out autonomy, but then they are not prepared to go into the other parts of the analysis, such that
Yeah. So sure, the personhood thing takes it to a whole nother level. You and I both watched how AI has played out over the years, and like people talk about AI, and they all have various meanings of what that means to them. And like, let's face it, there
Uh-huh.
was when we talk about AI, we meant AGI, but then now there's like splits on what AGI means and whether we've achieved it or whether we haven't.
Or
And so
2016, people would say computer vision, and they'd be like, "That's AI," right?
right. And so it is for some. And then we've seen AI take this very broad definition. So when I say autonomy right now, in my head, I'm not actually thinking about personhood, but I recognize like it's understandable to also have that as an assumption and a connection to it,
Mm-hmm.
because autonomy does tend to also be associated to AGI. So like there's not a right or wrong in this situation. It's more just um, can we have autonomy to a degree? Sure. But I think autonomy with the existing models that we have, uh, it depends on the problem it's solving for us to fully pull the human out of the loop. But that doesn't mean when you pull the human out of the loop and the agent keeps solving for that problem. With
Mm-hmm.
code is a great example where we have very clear test cases that it can improve upon. Doesn't make the agent have personhood, but it does make the agent potentially able to work without a human in the loop for a longer period of time than we would normally
Yeah.
have.
Um, Classically, if you go I'm a big fan of the economist Ator, and one of his papers talks about how automation and productivity, when automation increases, it doesn't destroy work, it changes jobs. So I think a lot of times when people talk about autonomy and doing more software, they start to make this jump and that work goes away or jobs go away. And I think that is entirely wrong. I think when Javon's paradox shows that when productivity increases, demand increases, employment increases, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
these areas can really push the efficiency and productivity what we can do in certain knowledge work areas. So I just think it's super exciting. I just think that automation and cognitive labor automation makes people more important than ever, because I just don't believe that you can have true work output without humans. And I have a lot
Agreed.
of, there's a lot of backing theory that I think supports that. But that's why I love to kind of poke at people when we talk about autonomy, because I think we need to pull that piece apart at some point. We won't do it on this show, in this episode. But I think that philosophically is a fun place to kind of, walk around in for a while. And it won't
I
get
mean,
solved anytime soon, but I think that there's going to
yeah.
be more exploration in that one spot.
No, I agree with you. So funny enough, and I just showed you the demo, which we're going to be doing at AIU World's Fair, which may or may not be before or after this gets aired. But that demo, I purposefully am talking about human in the loop, because there
Mm-hmm.
are many times where you do have to make sure the human is in the loop. And it's really a range of like, at what point how important is it? What's the cost of the error type of situation that you have to
Yeah.
really evaluate, amongst others. But at the end of the day, even if you can have a loop and an autonomous agent kind of solve a specific problem, I agree that you're not fully removing the human from everything. You're just maybe solving specific problems that the human isn't needed as much in. And you're right. They need to be repurposed. They need to be refocused and put to other problems that we know that these
Yeah.
current models and agents can't solve.
Our labor has been evolving since the dawn of tools.
Agree.
It just, we start assuming that there's always been people who just sit around and use Excel. Once upon a time, there was people who just did manual logbooks, and they looked like Excel on graph paper, right? And then to sum a column was a big job. But then it's like Bink, just put the formula in the cell. Can you imagine being the person who had been doing logbooks for 50 years? Excel shows up, and they were like, no sir, no ma'am, not using that thing. I don't trust it, right? In
Agree.
1962, Lyndon Johnson created a blue ribbon panel because automation in manufacturing was threatening to take away jobs. They thought automation was going to kill off the manufacturing sector. It didn't happen, right? Much like with cycles that I think that we've seen with AI, all this has happened before, and it all happens probably again.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of things I've been seeing lately just reminds me of stuff we saw literally 10 years ago. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that people who have been in it longer have seen these patterns before
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yeah.
which I know we're probably running low on time, but I just wanted to quickly give a shout out to Adam and Chris if they're watching, because you and I wouldn't know each other without the two of them.
That's right. That's right. Back in the SkyMine days. Well, I think we've hit a great spot. When are you going to give this demo? Give us a specific date, and I'll try to get the podcast out before then.
Yeah, the demo is actually, so it's two days that I'm going to be doing this at AI World's Fair. Next week it's going to be, as far as I understand it, I think on the 30th, I'll be doing a quick demo at the booth in the middle of the day around like 12:30, and then on Thursday the 2nd, I think it's around 2:30. I should know the exact time, but I don't have it in front of me, but around 2:30 Pacific time on the 2nd on the floor at the conference. So if people want to come check it out, please do. And this will be posted online too. I don't have a link yet for you, but yeah.
I'll tag it to the post. So you'll have two demos. The name of the conference again is?
AIE World's Fair. So AI Engineering World's Fair.
Okay. And where is it located?
It's at Moscone in San Francisco.
Back to Moscone. So this is a big one, right?
Yeah, there's going to be about 6,000. It'll be a good size conference of AI practitioners.
You don't do the small AI breakfast inside Moscone. It's you could park a aircraft carrier in there. So yeah, it's a bit. That's awesome.
It's a fun one.
Thank you so much, Melanie, for hanging out again. I hope to have you back on the show, and we will figure out autonomy on the show one day. I promise.
We'll figure out the autonomous AIE agents. Yeah.
That's right.
No, it's good to see you, Josh. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure thing.